As a therapist, the number one question I keep getting asked is, how can I improve my self-esteem? There are many tricks and strategies for improving your self-esteem, but unfortunately they won't work if you subconsciously self-sabotage. It's like taking one step forward and then two steps back. So even though you might do everything right, even though you might do all the right tricks and all the right strategies for improving your self-esteem, if you are at the same time self-sabotaging, your self-esteem simply won't improve, or it will improve way too slowly. So this is why I decided to do this video in two parts. In this part, I'll share with you 3 most common ways people tend to self-sabotage when it comes to self-esteem. And then in the next video that I'll post next week, you will learn how to exactly improve your self-esteem, so how to skyrocket your self-esteem and finally feel good about yourself. Hi, I'm Katja. I'm a psychologist and psychotherapist from Slovenia, and I'm here to help you skyrocket your self-esteem. So make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. So in this video, you'll learn 3 most common ways people unknowingly self-sabotage. And you'll also learn what to do instead. One of the most common ways people tend to self-sabotage is thinking that they should do something. For example, I should be perfect. I should always say yes to others. I should be liked. I should be beautiful. I should be pleasing to everybody. I should always be strong. I should never show anger. I should never show any sign of weakness. I should always make others feel good. I should always help others. I should make a lot of money. I should be successful. I should always be busy doing something. I should be taking care of others, and so on. Did any of these sound familiar to you? In order for this video to be really helpful to you, think about how you would finish the sentence, I should. So what are some of the things that you believe you should do or that you should be like? Do you believe you should always have things under control? Do you believe that you should be liked by everybody? Do you believe that you should never say no, that you should always say yes? Do you believe that you should never show your sadness to others, and so on? So what are some of the things that you believe you should do or should be like? And don't just think these things in your mind, write them down. Because when we write stuff down, we are forced to form the sentence more clearly. When we just think things in our mind, we usually skip over some parts and we don't see the whole picture as clearly as we do when we write it down. Share with us your sentence, I should, in the comments below. Now, you may be thinking, but I should have things under my control, or I should be perfect, or I must be accepted by everybody. I want to be accepted by everybody. Of course, it's completely natural to think those thoughts. And of course, it's okay and even great to strive for your best. But at the same time, believing that you should act a certain way or that you should be a certain way can be dangerous to your self-esteem. Why? Because it leads you to start self-sabotaging. How so? Because nobody can be perfect. Nobody can have everything under their control. Nobody can be strong all the time. And even if you could be, would you really want to be that way? For example, would you really want to be strong all the time? To never show your soft side, to never discovering that it's okay to be human and to have moments of weakness, to finally understand that it's okay to show that you're scared sometimes, just like everybody else, that you're sad, that you sometimes feel powerless, and so on. Would you really want to be strong all the time and never experiencing the true closeness with others? Would you really want that? Or let's say that you work really hard and are being extra careful as to not make any mistakes, and you come really close to being perfect. Would you really want to live your life like that? To always be on the lookout for mistakes? To never just letting go and being you who you are? To never experiencing shared laughter over a stupid mistake that you've made in the past? To never feel connected to others as humans, not as perfect beings, but as humans with flaws and mistakes and so on? Would you really want that? Would you really want to be perfect? I'm guessing this is not something that you truly want. By believing that you have to be a certain way, you're actually sabotaging yourself from being who you really are. You believe that if you could just be perfect enough, if you could just be strong enough, if you could just be beautiful enough, if you could just be likable enough, loved enough, if you could just be popular enough, successful enough, whatever enough, then you could finally prove to yourself that you are worthy. But this will never happen. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but this will never happen. It doesn't work that way. No matter how much you try to change yourself, no matter how much you try to achieve or prove to yourself, you will never be able to prove to yourself that you are worthy. As soon as you achieve something that you believe you need to in order to prove your worthiness, you will find something else that you'll believe you need to achieve in order to prove your worthiness. It doesn't work that way. And this becomes a vicious cycle that never ends. If you want to improve your self-esteem, you need to understand that you are already worthy. No matter what people have said to you in the past, no matter your life so far, no matter the mistakes you made, you are already worthy. You don't need to prove anything. Not to others, not to yourself. You are already worthy. So how can you stop sabotaging yourself in this way? The next time you catch yourself thinking, I should do something a certain way, or I should be this way, or I must be this way, just stop and ask yourself, says who? Who makes up these rules about how or who I should be? And then ask yourself, what do I want? How do I want to live my life? If you do this often enough, you'll stop self-sabotaging yourself by shoulds and musts. Let's look at another common way people tend to self-sabotage. As part of therapy, I often give my clients homework or an assignment that they do at home in order to achieve the change that they want even quicker. And after I explain to them what the assignment is, I always ask them, will you do it? And most people say, I'll try. Not, I'll do it, but I'll try. What's the difference? If you say, I'll try, you're already giving yourself the possibility of not doing it. You're subconsciously saying to yourself that it's okay to not do it, to not take a chance, to not go outside of your comfort zone, and to just stay where you are. So you're already providing yourself with an excuse, and you're already saying to yourself that it's okay to not do it. That's why in therapy, I always ask my clients, will you actually do it, or will you just try? And most just smile and say, no, I'll do it. This may seem like something that makes no difference, but it actually does. The difference is in your commitment to the goal. If you say you'll try, you're signaling to yourself that you're not really committed to the goal. You'll try, but then again, if you won't have time, if you won't feel like it, if you won't have the motivation, the energy, and so on, you just won't do it. You're not really committed to doing something. If, on the other hand, you say you'll do it, you're signaling to yourself that you are in fact committed to it, and you become bulletproof from making excuses. So avoid self-sabotaging and just say, I'll do it instead. The third most common way people tend to self-sabotage is being too self-critical. I did another video on being too self-critical and on having constant negative self-talk, and I'll put the link down below so that you can watch it and learn how to develop positive self-talk. There are many ways you can be self-critical, but one I see most often is so-called mind reading. Of course, nobody can actually read minds of others, thank God. But still, we can sometimes become convinced that we know what others are thinking about us. We become convinced that others are judging us and that they are thinking badly about us. We become convinced that they are being so harsh to ourselves as we are being harsh to ourselves. So we believe that they are as critical of ourselves as we are critical of ourselves in our minds. And we also sometimes believe that others can spot our flaws in an instant. And in addition, we believe that these flaws are as big of a deal to them as they are to us. But the truth is, we don't know what others are thinking about us. We can't know unless we ask, which we usually don't do. We just assume. And if we have low self-esteem, we usually assume the worst. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say that you're talking to a friend when all of a sudden, in the middle of the conversation, he yawns. Now, you may be thinking, I'm boring him, or I'm a boring person. Or you might think, this story I'm telling is awful, or he doesn't like me anymore, or he regrets meeting me for coffee, and so on. See how we usually tend to jump to the worst conclusions. And especially if your self-esteem is low, you tend to forget all the other possibilities that are way more neutral and are not so unkind to you. For example, perhaps he's just tired. Perhaps he's had a very long, stressful day, or week, or even month. Or perhaps he doesn't find the story you're telling terribly interesting, but he still likes you and he still wants to be your friend. So when we mind read, or when we think that we mind read, we tend to draw the worst conclusions about ourselves. We become convinced that others are thinking something bad about us. So the next time you find yourself mind reading, just stop and ask yourself, what are some other possibilities? So what are some other possibilities about what he or she is thinking beside the possibility that he or she is thinking something bad about you? What are some other options? If you're very close to this person, you can even ask him or her about what he or she is thinking. So stop and try to acknowledge some other possibilities, some more neutral or even positive possibilities about what the other person is thinking about you. So there you have it. 3 very common ways we tend to self-sabotage. We tend to believe that we should be a certain way. We often say, I'll try instead of I'll do it. And we often engage in mind reading where we think that the other person is thinking something horrible about us. In the second part of this video that I'll publish next week, I'll share with you practical tricks for skyrocketing your self-esteem. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Did you like this video? If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot. And as I've said, subscribe. And you're also welcome to join my free Facebook group called Skyrocket Your Self-Esteem, where I share practical tricks and strategies for boosting your self-esteem. I really hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching and talk to you soon.